At the age of 24, Willow threw the engagement ring in my face and left the country without looking back. Her mother said, "Seriously, you're proposing with this cheap knockoff junk?" 3 years later, I had made it big, famous, successful, worth hundreds of millions. Then Willow called me out of nowhere, her voice trembling with emotion. "Didn't you say that as long as I turned back, I'd find you still waiting for me? Now I want to tell you, I'm back." Meanwhile, I lowered my head and looked at my daughter, who had mush smeared all over her face. Then I glanced at the unfamiliar number on my phone and said with a completely baffled expression, "Wait, who even are you?" The world went silent. My daughter, however, did not. She slapped her tiny hand straight into the carrot puree and splattered it all over my face. Chapter 1. The carrot puree was newly bought, imported, $28 for one tiny jar. I scooped out a little with a spoon and tested the temperature myself first. Not hot. Then I brought it to Emma's mouth. She clamped her lips shut and turned her head away. "Emma, be good. Open your mouth." She turned her face the other way. "This is healthy. Eat it and you'll grow tall." She looked at me with big, bright eyes. Then the next second, puffed, a perfect spit attack landed directly on my forehead. "All right, Emma, I raised you myself, so I'll take the hit. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and switched strategies. I lifted the spoon high and circled it in the air. Vroom. Here comes the airplane. Emma's attention was finally hooked. Her lips parted slightly. Just as the spoon was about to land, my phone rang. The vibration startled Emma, and her mouth snapped shut again. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. Location displayed, London. Ooh. I wanted to hang up, but Emma had already lost interest in the spoon and started smacking her food tray, splattering carrot puree everywhere. I pinned down her tiny gremlin hands with one hand while answering the call with the other. "Hello, who's this?" The person on the other end called my name. "George," a woman's voice. Cool, composed, her pronunciation soft and precise, with the slightest upward lilt at the end. My brain rapidly searched through possibilities. Debt collector? No, I didn't have loans. Telemarketer? Using a London number? I asked again. "Who exactly are you?" There was a pause. Then she said, "I came back." "Huh?" I kept trying to coax Emma into eating while replying. "Came back where? You sure you've got the right number?" "Emma, stop grabbing the spoon," she said. "I'm standing where we promised we'd meet." That finally earned about 30% of my attention. Promise? What promise? Last week I'd promised David we'd play basketball, but he ditched me. And David definitely didn't sound like this. Confused, I asked. "Sorry, what promise are you talking about?" She replied. "At the entrance of the Central Art Museum, under the ginkgo tree." The ginkgo tree, the museum. My hand froze. Some dusty old folder in my memory suddenly creaked open. Back in college, there was a girl standing beneath that tree, her scarf lifted by the wind. "When you come back successful, I'll be waiting for you under this tree, no matter what." That had been 4 years ago, when I'd said those words. I was 23, broke as hell, with barely enough money in my pocket to buy her a bowl of beef noodles. Why? Willow. On the other end, she inhaled softly, relief slipping into her voice. "So you still remember?" Of course I remembered. How could I possibly forget the woman who threw an engagement ring in my face? More accurately, her mother threw it in my face, and Willow had stood there beside her without saying a word. "How did you get my number?" I asked. "You never changed it." I did change it. 3 times, actually. So the number she had saved shouldn't even work anymore. Then how did she find my current one? Whatever. Didn't matter. While I was distracted, Emma had pulled the entire jar of carrot puree into her arms and was happily stuffing fistfuls into her mouth. Her whole face smeared orange. "Emma." I snatched the jar back, getting carrot puree all over my hand. The line went silent for a few seconds. Then she asked quietly, "What was that sound?" "Oh, my daughter." Chapter 2. Silence. Silence. A long, suffocating silence. I could even hear the rustling of ginkgo leaves in the wind on the other end of the call. Then, the next second, "What did you just say?" Willow's voice suddenly shot up half an octave. I said my daughter, 1 year and 2 months old. Right now she's smearing carrot puree all over me. "Emma, don't rub it into your hair." I wedged the phone between my shoulder and ear while using my other hand to stop Emma. This kid was freakishly strong. She grabbed my ear and refused to let go. You got married?" Willow's voice trembled. "No." "Then how do you have a..." "She's adopted," I interrupted. "Long story short, what do you need?" "I'm kinda busy over here. I'm standing under the ginkgo tree waiting for you," she repeated herself, talking much faster now. "I flew 12 hours back from London." I lifted Emma out of the high chair. Her tiny foot kicked over the cup, spilling water across the entire table. "Well, I carefully chose my words. Maybe you should find somewhere indoors to sit first. Temperature dropped today. It's pretty cold outside. George. Yeah. You're not coming. I glanced at Emma in my arms. She burped. Carrot flavored. I need to bathe my daughter first. She's covered head to toe in carrot puree. A faint sound came through the phone, like something cracking apart. I didn't pay much attention. Emma had started grabbing her hair again. Well then, take care of yourself. I hung up. Emma grinned at me, showing 4 tiny baby teeth. Her whole face smeared orange. Your dad is seriously busy. Huh? I complained helplessly, tapping the tip of her nose. She burped again. My phone buzzed. WeChat message from, David won't repay even if he dies. David, you there? Basketball tonight? I typed one-handed. Not going. My daughter just pasted carrot puree all over my face. Need to bathe her. Oh right. Willow just called me. 3 seconds after sending it, David immediately fired back a 60-second voice message. I tapped it open. He practically screamed. Which Willow? That Willow. The one whose mom threw the ring in your face 3 years ago. I lowered the volume so Emma wouldn't get startled. Yeah, that one. She said she came back and is waiting for me under the ginkgo tree. David sent another voice message. Holy shit, did you go? Nope. Emma needs a bath. David sent 5 reaction memes in a row, a thumbs up emoji, a clapping emoji, a throwing flowers emoji, a laughing with tears emoji, and a meme about broadening one's horizons. Right after that came a text, does she know you run a company now? I replied, probably not. I haven't been in contact with her. Does she know Luminex technology belongs to you? I replied, she didn't even know I changed my phone number. How would she know that? David sent, that's perfect. Bro, do you know what this is called? I asked. What? David replied, this is premium grade face slapping material. I tossed the phone aside and carried Emma into the bathroom. I turned on the faucet. Warm water streamed down. Emma loved baths the most. The moment she touched water, she started flailing excitedly and splashing everywhere. I crouched beside the bathtub, wiping the carrot puree off her face with a small towel, while Willow's voice occasionally drifted through my mind. 3 years. 3 years ago. It had been raining that day. The Liu family's living room was enormous. The sofa was white. Willow's mother wore a cheapao and held the old ring my mother had left behind. She sneered coldly. You're seriously proposing with this cheap roadside trash ring? The ring was thrown onto the floor. It bounced twice, then rolled to my feet. I bent down to pick it up, my back pinned beneath countless stairs. Willow stood at the turn of the staircase, looking at me, without saying a single word. Later, she went abroad. Later, I picked up the ring, wiped it clean, and locked it away in the deepest corner of a drawer. Then later still, my cousin got into an accident, and Emma became a child nobody wanted. The day I carried her home from the civil affairs office, she was only 4 months old, small enough to fit inside one palm. I traded that ring for 2 cans of baby formula, imported, expensive. Emma suddenly blew a spit bubble and slapped the water surface. I laughed. All right, all clean now. I scooped her up and wrapped her in a towel. Tomorrow I'm feeding you carrot puree again. And this time, you're actually eating it properly, Emma declared loudly. No. It was the second word she had learned recently. The first was daddy, the third was, no. Wrapped in her towel, I carried her back into the bedroom and changed her into a bunny pattern onesie. She curled up in my arms and slowly quieted down, her tiny fingers clutching the collar of my t-shirt. Wind began rising outside the window. I thought briefly about the person standing beneath that ginkgo tree, wondering whether she had left yet. Then Emma rolled over and kicked me straight in the chin. Never mind. Chapter 3. At 7 o'clock the next morning, the doorbell rang. One of my eyes cracked open. Emma was sprawled across my chest, drooling in her sleep. The doorbell rang again. Coming. I gently placed Emma in the middle of the bed, surrounded her with pillows, and shuffled to the door in my slippers. Standing outside was Anna. She wore a mint green hoodie, her hair casually tied into a ponytail, and carried a bag of mini steamed buns in her hand. Emma finished her teething biscuits yesterday, she said. I bought some steamed buns downstairs as a substitute. She handed me the bag and peeked inside. She's still asleep. Just rolled over a minute ago. I smiled. Come in. Anna was the tenant from apartment 602 and a pediatrician at the local community hospital. She'd moved in half a year ago, and at first we barely interacted, until one night Emma came down with a fever. I'd been running around the entire neighborhood carrying her, desperately searching for a clinic, when I ran into Anna in the elevator just as she was getting off her night shift. She took Emma from my arms, felt her forehead, and calmly said, Rosiella, don't panic. From that day onward, she somehow became my free childcare consultant, Emma's unofficial godmother, and the primary sponsor of everything edible in my refrigerator. Anna changed into slippers and walked in. skillfully avoiding the toys scattered across the living room floor before entering the bedroom and picking Emma up. Emma whined twice, opened her eyes, and immediately broke into a grin the moment she saw Anna, reaching out to yank her hair. Ow, there you go pulling again. Anna swept her hair aside and pinched Emma's cheek. Did you sleep well last night? I shrugged. Pretty decent. Only kicked me 3 times. I walked into the kitchen to boil water. You've got a red mark on your face, Anna commented. 3rd kick. Anna laughed softly and sat down on the living room sofa with Emma in her arms. Emma had already started gnawing on the mini steamed buns with intense concentration, drool and bun crumbs smearing all over her hands. I was in the kitchen mixing formula when I heard Anna talking to Emma outside. Emma, the weather's nice today. Want to go to the park this afternoon? Emma answered firmly. No. Then stay home. No want. Then what do you want to do? With complete seriousness, Emma dug the chewed-up bun out of her mouth and offered it to Anna. Anna stared at it speechlessly. Thank you, but I'm not hungry. I carried the milk bottle out of the kitchen and was just about to say something when the doorbell rang again. Anna and I exchanged a glance. You expecting someone? She asked. No. I walked over and opened the door. Standing outside was Willow. She hadn't changed much from 3 years ago. Long hair draped over her shoulders, beige trench coat, light makeup, faint dark circles beneath her eyes. She was looking at me too. Her gaze traveled from my messy hair and wrinkled pajamas all the way down to the baby bottle in my hand. How do you know where I live? I asked. I asked someone to look it up. Her voice sounded slightly hoarse. Probably hadn't slept last night. You never answered after hanging up yesterday. My phone was on silent. Emma can't sleep if it's noisy. Can I come in? I stepped aside slightly. She entered the foyer and was changing shoes when, Emma, don't throw that. Anna's voice came from the living room. Then came a dull smack. A chunk of half-chewed steamed bun flew across the room and landed with sniper-level precision right beside Willow's feet. Willow lowered her eyes to look at the soggy lump, then slowly raised her head. Anna stood in the middle of the living room holding Emma. Emma's face was covered in bun crumbs. Half a steamed bun still clutched in her hand as she prepared for a second round of attacks. Willow's gaze shifted from Anna's face to Emma's face, then to the matching mint green hoodies both Anna and Emma were wearing. Anna had bought the matching parent-child outfits online for Emma 2 days ago. Chapter 4. She said nothing. The air froze solid for about 3 seconds. Then Willow looked at me and asked, "And this is?" "My neighbor," I replied. "Anna, pediatrician, lives next door." "Neighbor," I repeated. Anna quickly caught on and stepped forward slightly. "Hello, I'm from apartment 602 next door. You're George's former fiancé." Willow finished calmly. Anna's hold on Emma tightened just a little. Emma, meanwhile, was extremely curious about the newcomer. She tilted her head and stared at Willow for several seconds before suddenly pointing at her and blurting out, "Auntie." The corner of Willow's mouth twitched. I pretended not to notice. "Sit down," I said. "Water or tea?" "Water is fine." She sat on the sofa. Anna very tactfully stood up. "Then I'll head back first." She tried handing Emma to me. Emma immediately refused. She grabbed Anna's collar tightly, lips wobbling as if she were about to cry. "Emma, be good. I'll come see you again this afternoon." Anna coaxed gently. Emma ignored her completely. She clung stubbornly to Anna's neck, glanced once at Willow, then buried her face back into Anna's shoulder. Children's wariness toward strangers was always direct and brutal. Willow sat on the sofa with her back perfectly straight, hands resting on her knees, fingers slightly pale from tension. "I'm going then." Anna nodded at me. I took Emma into my arms. She squirmed twice, watched Anna leave and shut the door, then finally slumped unwillingly against my shoulder. The living room quieted down. Willow sat across from me, separated by a coffee table piled high with toys and baby supplies. "You've lost weight," she said softly. "That's what raising kids does to you." She hesitated before asking, "That child, yesterday you said she's your daughter?" "My cousin's daughter." I patted Emma's back to calm her. "My cousin died in a car accident. Her husband ran off ages ago. Nobody wanted Emma, so I went through the adoption process." Willow's fingers curled slightly against her knees. "So you've been raising her alone?" "Yeah, for 2 years." "About that." She fell silent again, lowering her head. She stared at a half-chewed teething biscuit lying on the coffee table. After a long while, she finally asked, "Have you been doing okay?" "Pretty good. What about work?" "I started a small company. Software development. Makes enough to support me and Emma." The phrase, small company, visibly relaxed her expression a little. I knew exactly what she was thinking. She probably assumed I was still the same broke programmer from 3 years ago, barely scraping by and now burdened with a child on top of it. I didn't explain. What was there to explain? Luminex Tech's revenue numbers from last year. The amount from 3 rounds of funding, the government contract we landed last month, none of that had anything to do with her anymore. Emma yawned against my shoulder, drooling all over my collar. Willow. She looked up. I asked. So what exactly did you come here for? She pressed her lips together. What happened 3 years ago? I've never forgotten it. What part? She looked at me, faint red veins visible in her eyes. You promised you'd wait for me. Oh, that. I really had said it. Under the ginkgo tree outside the art museum, 23-year-old me had sworn I would wait for her. Back then, I thought waiting for someone was the easiest thing in the world. Then her mother threw the ring in my face, and I learned that the hardest thing in the world wasn't waiting. It was having someone tell you to your face that you were never worthy of waiting in the first place. That. I lowered my head and looked at the back of Emma's head. Her hair was soft and fine, much longer now. I thought that promise had been cancelled the day you left. You never said it still counted. The day I left. Willow stopped mid-sentence. The day she left. She hadn't said anything at all. She had only looked back at me once at the security checkpoint. I remembered that look clearly. I just never understood what it meant. I stood up. Anyway, I said, I need to make formula now. If there's nothing else. George. Yeah. This time, I'm back for good. I stood there holding Emma. Emma looked up at me, then turned to look at Willow, and then, puffed. She burped up a mouthful of milk directly onto my shirt with deadly accuracy. I looked down at the fresh milk stain in silence, then said helplessly, Emma, are you doing this on purpose? Emma giggled, showing all 4 tiny baby teeth as she clapped happily. Across from us, Willow gripped her cup so tightly that her knuckles turned stark white. Chapter 5. When Willow left, she left behind a business card. Partner at a London design firm, gold embossed logo, and beneath it, in small print, Willow, senior partner. I tossed the card onto the shoe cabinet and turned around to continue raising my tiny chaos goblin. At 3 in the afternoon, David showed up. As always, he entered without knocking, using the fingerprint lock to let himself in. I was the idiot who had registered his fingerprint in the first place. I'd regretted it countless times since. You here? I was crouched on the floor building blocks while Emma dismantled them beside me. I built 1 block. She destroyed 2. Peak family harmony. David kicked off his shoes, grabbed a can of soda from the fridge, cracked it open, then sprawled onto the sofa with one leg crossed over the other. All right, he said after taking a sip. Tell me everything from the beginning. I looked at him speechlessly. Tell you what exactly? I mean Willow. Stop playing dumb. He pointed at me with the soda can. You posted, my daughter refuses to eat carrot puree again today, on Moments last night and deleted it 3 seconds later. The moment I saw that, I knew something happened. I ignored him. He kept going. So, what does she look like now? Older? Fatter? Do you seriously have issues with how you describe people? Details. I need details. David dramatically pulled out his phone and opened his notes app. I didn't spend 3 years collecting material for nothing. I stopped stacking blocks and looked up at him. What material? David turned the phone screen toward me. The notes app was packed with dozens of screenshots. I leaned closer and looked. First screenshot. A social media post from Willow's mother 3 years ago. Photo attached. Some fancy banquet. Caption. Willow leaves for London today. Such a bright future ahead of her. Certain people who don't know their place should wake up already. Second screenshot. Another post from 2.5 years ago. Willow is interning at a London firm. Her mentor praised her exceptional talent. Gold shines wherever it goes. Unlike certain people. Heh. Third screenshot. A message Willow's mother had sent in the family group chat. That Juan kid will never amount to anything in his life. Keeping Willow away from him was the smartest decision I ever made. Fourth screenshot. Fifth screenshot. Sixth screenshot. I finished reading, then asked, why the hell are you saving all this? David put away his phone with a solemn expression. Bro, this is called strategic reserves. What? I've been waiting 3 years for this day. For what? For her to come back. His eyes gleamed with excitement. For the Liu family to find out how much you're worth now and see the expressions on their faces. He rubbed his hands together eagerly. I need to witness it personally. Otherwise all these screenshots I saved over the past 3 years would have been for nothing. Emma crawled over and used David's pant leg to pull herself upright. David looked down at her and extended one finger for her to grab. Emma, I said, say hello to Uncle. No. Just say it once. No want. David looked at me suspiciously. Did her dad teach her that? I sighed. She learned it herself. David shook his head dramatically and pulled a lollipop out of his pocket. Emma's eyes instantly lit up. She reached for it. Say, Uncle, and it's yours. Emma stared intensely at the lollipop. Her mouth wriggled for a moment before she finally squeezed out. Unky. Good enough. Unky it is. As long as she's calling me. David handed over the lollipop triumphantly. She can't eat candy. I snatched it away immediately. Emma's entire face collapsed. Her lips trembled. Her eyes reddened. Oh no no no, don't cry, Wayawa. I hurriedly picked her up, patting her back and trying to soothe her. Emma's crying had enough penetrating power to shake the paint off the walls upstairs and downstairs. David curled into the corner of the sofa, covering his ears. Did she train her lung capacity with you or something? Chapter 6. After 5 straight minutes of coaxing, Emma finally calmed down. Well, mostly. She downgraded from full-volume siren mode to soft sniffling, though one tiny hand was still reaching stubbornly toward David. Back to business. I placed Emma inside the playpen and handed her a teething stick. Willow came by this morning. David immediately sprayed soda everywhere. She came to your house. Yeah. Anna happened to be there too. Anna. David's eyes lit up instantly. And then Emma called Willow Auntie. David collapsed backward onto the sofa laughing so hard he nearly used all 4 limbs. Soda spilled all over his pants. Auntie, Emma really is biologically yours. No wait. Adoptively yours. No wait. That's enough. No it isn't. David wiped soda off his pants and pulled out his phone. Just wait. Willow's mom is definitely coming to find you. I bet $500 within 3 days. Betting on what exactly? That Madam Susan is absolutely going to pull the classic, I always knew you had potential, reversal. He cleared his throat dramatically and pinched his voice into a fake imitation of Willow's mother. Ah, George dear. Auntie always believed you were destined for greatness. Back then it was all just a misunderstanding. All a misunderstanding. Enough. Not enough. David suddenly turned serious. Do you know you ranked 7th on last month's Business Weekly Rising Entrepreneurs list? If the Liu family investigates your company. He paused and looked at me. At the exact same moment, we both said the same word. They're screwed. Not me. The Liu family's dignity was screwed. The harder they'd kicked me away 3 years ago, the more painfully awkward it would be trying to crawl back now. I sat down and picked up a rubber giraffe from Emma's playpen that had been chewed beyond recognition. I don't want to play these games. I know you don't. For once, David sounded genuinely serious. But bro, some things happen whether you want them to or not. Willow came looking for you herself. Her mom is definitely going to investigate your current situation. The moment she checks, she'll find Luminex Tech. And once she finds out about Luminex Tech, he picked up his phone again and pulled up another screenshot. A social media post from Willow's mother 3 years ago. It read, Willow deserves someone better. What qualifications does a broke nobody without even a house have? I stared at the sentence. Something caught in my throat. 1 second. 2 seconds. She wasn't wrong. I finally said quietly. Back then, I really was poor. David's smile disappeared. You were poor, but you still didn't deserve to be treated like that. His voice came out low and heavy. I was standing right there beside you that day. I saw you crouching outside the Liu family's house picking up that ring. He paused. You stayed crouched there for a long time. I said nothing. Emma had finished gnawing on her teething stick. She pulled herself upright inside the playpen, wobbling unsteadily as she stretched both little arms toward me. Hug. Her 4th word. I bent down and picked her up. She immediately rested her head against my neck, tiny hands clutching my collar. Enough already, I said quietly. No matter what happens with the Liu family, I'm still living my life. David nodded and took another sip of soda. Oh right, he suddenly remembered. You seriously don't have feelings for Anna? She's Emma's doctor and my neighbor. So what? So you cook an extra portion every day because you're afraid of wasting food? I threw Emma's teething stick at him. He dodged it. Emma burst into giggles. Traitor. Chapter 7. David 1. Not in 3 days. In 2. The next evening, I was in the kitchen stir-frying dinner while Emma sat in her playpen repeatedly smacking a screaming plastic duck toy when my phone rang. Unknown number. Local number. Hello. Is this Mr. George? A middle-aged woman's voice, extremely polite, with a layer of deliberately forced warmth. Speaking. Who is this? I'm Pilar. Susan's friend, you know. From your neighborhood property management, the homeowners meeting last time. Remember, Pilar. Just get to the point. The other end paused briefly before continuing. Well, it's like this. A friend of mine would like to invite you to dinner the evening after tomorrow. Just catching up. Which friend? Susan. You know her. I set down the spatula. Cooking smoke caught in my throat. A mess. Susan. Yes. She said it's just a casual meal. Old friends getting together. Old friends. 3 years ago. The last thing that old friend had said to me was, hurry up and get out. Don't dirty my floors. I asked. What time the evening after tomorrow? 7 o'clock. Private restaurant near the International Trade Center. I'll send you the address. I thought for a moment before asking the truly important question. Can I bring a child? A child. My daughter. She's 1. I can't find anyone to babysit. The woman hesitated for 3 full seconds. Probably. Let me ask. After hanging up, I transferred $500 to David. Note attached, you won. David replied instantly, here's a bonus piece of intel, Susan posted on her wifey circle yesterday, saying life is full of surprises. 3 sun emoji. I'm guessing she's already found out about Luminex technology. I replied with a simple, mm. David immediately sent another message, take me with you. I replied with a flood of question marks. This kind of historic moment, if I miss it, my life won't be complete. Just say I'm your business partner, which technically isn't even fake. I thought about it and replied, fine. You carry Emma's diaper bag. Deal. The evening after tomorrow. International Trade Center. Private restaurant. The private dining room was huge. Round table with a white tablecloth. A flower arrangement in the center. Warm yellow lighting. Susan Lu sat in the seat of honor. She looked older than 3 years ago, but still very well maintained. Burgundy cheapao. Pearl necklace around her neck. Willow sat on her right. Black cocktail dress. Hair pinned up, exposing a graceful stretch of neck. There were also several unfamiliar faces around the table. Probably Lu family friends brought in to fill seats and create atmosphere. The moment I walked in holding Emma, every single gaze in the room landed on me. I was wearing a gray hoodie. Because Emma had thrown up milk in the taxi earlier, there was still a damp stain on the front. Emma wore the floral onesie Anna bought yesterday, plus a tiny butterfly hair clip. Easily the most fashionable person in the room. David followed behind me in a full suit and leather shoes. Susan stood up immediately. Her expression management was impressive. Only the tiny twitch at the corner of her mouth betrayed her. George, you're here. Come, sit down. Her voice radiated forced enthusiasm. And this must be Emma. Oh my, she looks so spirited. Emma stared at Susan for 3 seconds. Susan's smile widened even further as she reached out to touch Emma's cheek. Emma tilted her head slightly. Her tiny brows slowly furrowed. Then her mouth opened. Big. My heart instantly rose into my throat. Big Mons. The entire room went silent. Big monster. Emma completed the sentence with absolute clarity. Somewhere behind me, I heard David biting down on a soda can to stop himself from exploding. Susan's smile froze completely on her face. Haha, children. You know how they are. She let out 2 awkward dry laughs and withdrew her hand. Kids say the funniest things. Kids say the funniest things. I quickly covered Emma's mouth. Sorry, Auntie Lu. She's been watching cartoons lately. She calls everything a big monster now. That was a lie. She had only called Susan Lu that. David pulled out a chair and sat down. His expression could be summed up in a few words: restrained ecstasy. Chapter 8. Susan straightened herself in her seat, adjusted her expression, and began making small talk. George, it's been a long time. You've lost weight. Raising a child must be exhausting. Huh? Not too bad. Raising one alone isn't easy. Look at you, working and taking care of Emma at the same time. Auntie really feels for you. I scooped a piece of tofu into my bowl. Susan continued, by the way, I heard you started your own company. Here it comes. Yes, software. Small company. Oh, don't be modest. Susan's eyes lit up. I heard it's called Luminex Tech, and you made some ranking last month. I forced an awkward smile. Rising entrepreneurs. 7th place. Susan slapped the table, startling Emma. Impressive. I said it all along. Even back in college I could tell you were destined for success. David's chopsticks froze midair. So did I. Back in college? Your exact words were, what future can a code-writing nerd have? My daughter can't survive on thin air with you. I didn't say anything, but David nudged my leg under the table. I glanced at his phone. On the screen was the screenshot from 3 years ago. Thank you, Auntie Lu, I said calmly. Willow hadn't said a word. She sat there almost motionless, head down. Chopsticks barely moved. I noticed her hands clenched into fists beneath the tablecloth. The dishes arrived. A squirrel-shaped mandarin fish was placed in the center of the table. Mouth agape, coated in glossy sweet and sour sauce. Emma's eyes lit up the moment she saw the fish. She kicked her legs in my arms and reached out to grab it. Wait, there are bones. Too late. Emma smacked the fish with her little hand. Sweet and sour sauce splashed everywhere. One drop hit Susan's red wine glass with surgical precision. Plop. Tiny droplets fanned out. Everyone at the table stared at the glass. Susan looked down at her wine. Floating inside were a small piece of scallion and a few white sesame seeds. She chuckled awkwardly. Kids, you know, so lively. David expressionlessly pulled out his phone, pretending to check a message. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a line on his screen. Notes: Emma wreaks havoc at Lu family dinner. Round 1. The rest of the meal was a mess. Emma knocked over a bowl of soup, tugged Susan's napkin, spat chewed rice on the tablecloth, and eventually fell asleep on my shoulder, leaving a wet trail. Susan Lu maintained a professional, polite smile the entire time. Finally, dessert arrived. and she decided to cut to the point. George, she put down her chopsticks, hands folded, about what happened back then. I admit I didn't handle it very well. I chewed on some roast meat, saying nothing. At the time, Willow was young, and I acted on impulse. You know, as parents we always worry about our kids. Auntie Lou, I interrupted, putting down my fork. Emma's asleep. I need to take her back. Anything you want to say can wait until next time. I mean, I understand what you mean. I stood up. Emma let out a soft whine in my arms, shifted, and continued sleeping. What you mean is, 3 years ago you thought I wasn't good enough, and now you think I'm okay. Susan's smile froze. But this isn't something that changes just because you think it's okay. I nodded to the others at the table and turned to leave. David hurried after me. As we stepped out of the private room, I heard Willow's voice from behind. Mom, stop talking. The door closed. The hallway fell silent. David walked beside me, quiet for a few seconds. You were pretty impressive just now. Shut up. Seriously. At least 3 seconds of impressive. Then your daughter's drool ruined your shoulder. I glanced down. A large damp patch on my left shoulder. Let's go. In the elevator, David glanced at his phone and snickered. What is it? I asked. Susan just posted a new status, family reunion. Warm and happy, with a photo of tonight's dining table. I leaned over to look. The photo showed Susan, Willow, and a blurry gray hoodie figure. She photoshopped your back into the family reunion picture. I was speechless. David locked his phone and patted my shoulder. Bro, in the Lou family social feed, you've officially upgraded from poor kid to family member. Can you stop laughing? Can't. Chapter 9. Willow began her offensive. The first day, when I got home from work, there was a bag sitting by the door. Inside was a set of baby toys, imported ones. The packaging was covered in French, and the price tag said more than $800. Emma tore open the package. She glanced at the deluxe toy train loaded with lights and sound effects, reached out to pick it up, then tossed it aside and dove straight into the cardboard box instead. She stayed inside that box for an entire hour. The second day, Willow came in person and said she wanted to cook for me. I learned cooking in London, she said. Willow tied on an apron and rolled up her sleeves. I stood at the kitchen doorway, holding Emma while watching the show unfold. She opened the fridge, took out some eggs, and asked, "How about scrambled eggs with tomatoes?" Sure. Half the eggshells fell into the bowl while she cracked the eggs. She nearly sliced her finger while cutting the tomatoes. When she turned on the stove, the oil splattered everywhere. She jumped back 3 steps and knocked over the spice rack. The soy sauce bottle shattered. Soy sauce splashed all over the floor. Emma sat inside the playpen in the living room, staring toward the kitchen from afar, repeating one word over and over. No, no, don't. I grabbed the mop and walked into the kitchen. You should go out, I said. I'll handle this. Willow stood in the middle of the soy sauce mess, her apron covered in egg mixture and oil stains, half her hair falling loose, still clutching the spatula in her hand, the look in her eyes. How should I put it? She looked like a cat caught in the rain. The pride was still there, but barely holding together. I can learn, she said. I nodded. Yeah, but you don't need to practice at my place. Her fingers tightened around the spatula. I reminded her. The stove's still on. She turned around. The oil in the pan was already smoking. I grabbed her arm and reached over to turn off the fire. We were very close. Her breath brushed against my chin. I let go and stepped back. Go sit in the living room first, I said. I'll clean this up. She stood there motionless, her fingers curling and uncurling. In the end, she untied the apron, folded it neatly onto the counter, and walked out. I crouched down to wipe the soy sauce off the floor when I heard Emma's voice from the living room. Auntie. Then came crying. Emma's crying. I rushed out in 2 strides. Emma sat in the playpen with her head tilted back, bawling at the top of her lungs. Willow was crouching outside the playpen, both hands pulled back in front of her, looking completely lost. In a small voice, Willow said, I just touched her head. Emma was crying so hard her whole body shook, snot bubbles forming from her nose. I picked her up. She immediately buried her face into my neck, her sobs softening a little. She's not very comfortable around strangers, I said. Willow slowly stood up. Strangers, she repeated. Her voice was very soft. The third day, Willow came to my company looking for me. I wasn't there. I was out meeting a client. She waited at the reception desk for half an hour and happened to run into David, who had just come out of a meeting room. Later, David described the entire thing to me. She asked me when you'd be back, David said. I told her I wasn't sure. Then she asked if she could look around the company. I said yes, and then I showed her around. David took a sip of water before continuing. She saw the office area, the meeting rooms, the partner logos on the display wall, Tencent, ByteDance, and O. She also saw Emma's photo on your desk. What was her reaction? She stood there for a long time, David said. She stared at those logos on the wall forever. Then when she left, she walked straight into a doorframe. I could picture the scene perfectly. Don't tell me you said something to her, I asked. I only said one sentence. What sentence? He said. I told her our President Wang has been really busy these past few years, raising a kid while running the company. Basically no time for a social life. Dr. Anna from the clinic next door helped out a lot. She's a really nice person. That's all I said. Just objective facts. Speechless, I said. Why would you bring up Anna? David winked at me. Objective facts. I wanted to punch him, but I didn't. Because Emma was sitting on his lap chewing on his tie. Chapter 10. That night, Anna came over for dinner. This was part of our routine. If she wasn't on shift after work, she'd come by to help make baby food for Emma. Emma especially loved the pumpkin puree she made. I was stir-frying in the kitchen while Anna sat on the living room floor playing stacking blocks with Emma. Emma handed the blocks to Anna one by one. Anna stacked them up. As soon as the tower reached the 5th layer, Emma reached out and smacked the whole thing down with one slap. Crash. Then she clapped her hands and burst out laughing. Aha. Anna laughed too and started stacking again. Emma knocked it down again. Stack again. Smash again. The cycle repeated 7 or 8 times. I carried the dishes out and set them on the table helplessly. You two could seriously play this all night. She's got real talent for demolition, Anna said as she picked Emma up and sat beside the dining table. She could become an engineer someday. I laughed. A demolition engineer. Still an engineer, she replied. I tied a bib around Emma's neck while Anna fed her pumpkin puree with a small spoon. Emma opened her mouth obediently for every bite. One spoonful after another. So well behaved it was unbelievable. I sat down and said, she only eats properly when she's with you. If I feed her, it takes half an hour. Maybe your airplane act isn't animated enough, Anna said. I protested. My airplane act is very animated. She replied. That's why she spits all over your face. I had nothing to say after that. We ate quietly for a while. Emma finished the pumpkin puree and started chewing on Anna's sleeve. Anna simply let her chew while continuing to eat with her other hand. The warm yellow kitchen light fell over the two of them. I watched for 2 seconds. What is it? Anna looked up. Nothing. I lowered my head and continued eating. The doorbell rang. I put down my chopsticks and went to open the door. The door opened a crack. Willow stood in the hallway. She wore a light gray coat with her hair down, carrying a thermal container in her hand. I made pork rib soup, she said. Last time was a disaster, so this time I followed a tutorial. Her gaze moved past my shoulder toward the living room. Anna was feeding the last spoonful of pumpkin puree into Emma's mouth, casually wiping the residue from the corner of Emma's lips afterward. Emma grinned at Anna and patted her cheek with her tiny hand. The scene froze for half a second. The thermal container in Willow's hand wobbled slightly. You're having dinner, she said. Her voice had gone flat. Yeah. Do you want to come in? No. She handed me the container. You can heat the soup up yourself. Then she turned and left. The sound of her heels echoed farther and farther down the hallway. One step at a time. Controlled. Restrained. I carried the thermal container back to the table. Anna glanced at me but didn't ask anything. Emma reached toward the container. Want? You can't drink this, I said. Too greasy. Want? No. She puffed up her cheeks. No. Want? She had the words in the wrong order, but her attitude came through loud and clear. I opened the thermal container. Pork rib soup. Honestly, it looked way better than I expected. The broth was clear, with a few goji berries floating on top. I took a sip. Too salty, but still 100 times better than last time's soy sauce disaster. Chapter 11. Luminex Tech's 3rd anniversary celebration. David had spent an entire month preparing for it. The venue was an open-air creative park in South City, complete with lighting rigs and a stage. All 70-plus employees showed up, along with business partners and media guests. Around 200 people in total. I originally wanted to go in casual clothes. David nearly lost his mind over it. You're the CEO, he said. You represent the company image. If you walk out dressed like that, clients are gonna think we're about to go bankrupt. In the end, I compromised. Black suit, white dress shirt. The tie was picked out by Emma. It had little yellow ducks printed all over it. I stared at it in confusion. Isn't this tie a little? Emma picked it. David cut in, giving me a look that clearly said try refusing her. I dare you. Fine. Little yellow ducks it was. Before leaving, Anna stopped me by the door. Your tie's crooked. She reached over and adjusted it for me. Her fingers lingered at my collar for 2 seconds, straightening the knot. We were standing very close. She carried the faint scent of laundry detergent. There. She stepped back. You look very handsome now. I lowered my head and looked at Emma. She was wearing the little princess dress Anna had bought online. Shiny little leather shoes on her feet, and her hair tied into 2 tiny buns. The award for best dressed attendee was basically guaranteed. Let's go. The celebration venue, crowded, bright lights everywhere. A giant screen on stage continuously played highlights of the company's projects and achievements over the past 3 years. I carried Emma through the crowd, shaking hands and chatting with business partners. Every single person who saw her stopped to tease her for a moment. President Wang, this must be your daughter. She's way too adorable. Emma greeted everyone with her signature social smile, 4 tiny baby teeth and 2 dimples. Then she immediately reached for their brooches, ties, earrings, or glasses. David followed behind us the entire time, intercepting her attacks, preventing Emma from yanking $1 million watch off some investor's wrist. Anna came too. I had invited her. She wore a light blue dress with her hair down, no longer looking like the doctor in a white coat I was used to seeing. I looked twice, then looked a couple more times. Beside me, David started making weird snickering noises. I stepped on his foot. Halfway through the celebration, the host invited me onto the stage for a speech. I handed Emma to Anna, straightened my little yellow duck tie, and walked on stage. The lights hit my face. Beneath me was a sea of people. Everyone. Luminex Tech is 3 years old today, I said into the microphone. 3 years ago, this company was just me and David. 1 rented office, 1 custom-built server. The audience laughed. David stood in the corner giving me a thumbs up. In the past 3 years, I continued, we went from 2 people to 70. From 1 office to an entire floor. From 1 server to, David, how many servers do we have now? From below the stage, David shouted, don't ask. Thinking about the electricity bill already hurts enough. Another wave of laughter. To be honest, I said, the hardest part these past 3 years wasn't fundraising, negotiating with clients, or working overtime until 3 in the morning. I paused. The hardest part was debugging code while trying to put my daughter to sleep at the same time. The laughter grew louder. Someone whistled. She's here tonight too. I looked toward the audience. Emma. Anna stood in the front row holding Emma. The moment Emma saw me on stage, she raised both little hands high into the air and kicked her legs, demanding to come up. Anna set her down. Emma waddled toward the stairs in her little leather shoes. David hurried over to help her climb onto the stage. Emma walked to my side, tilted her head up at me, and held out her arms. I picked her up with 1 hand. This, I said, is the most important lady in my life. Emma grabbed the microphone and immediately tried shoving it into her mouth. The entire audience burst into laughter. Applause erupted everywhere. And that was when I saw Willow. She stood at the edge of the venue wearing a wine-red evening dress, her hair pinned up elegantly. I had no idea when she arrived. Beside her stood Susan, dressed head to toe in luxury brands, the pearl necklace around her neck gleaming under the lights. Susan wore the exact expression of someone about to announce earth-shattering news. My instincts immediately screamed one thing. This was bad. Chapter 12. The speech ended. I carried Emma off the stage. The moment I reached the lounge area, Susan came over. George. Her voice cut straight through the noise around us. That speech was wonderful. Auntie almost cried watching you up there. Her eyes were so dry they could probably spark a fire. Mrs. Liu. I nodded politely. Come. Let me introduce you. She grabbed my arm and pulled me toward a nearby group of people. This is Boss Lin from Hepping Group. And this is Mrs. Wu from the Wu family. Everyone. This is the young man I told you about. George, founder of Luminex Tech, and also my daughter Willow's. I raised a hand. Mrs. Liu. She turned to look at me. I asked, also your daughter's what? The air froze for a second. Susan opened her mouth. I mean, old friend. She forced out an awkward laugh. Old friends from college. After all. Boss Lin and Mrs. Wu exchanged a glance beside her. At that moment, a male voice sounded from nearby. President Wang. Is this your wife? One of our business partners walked over, his gaze shifting behind me. I turned around. Anna stood 2 steps behind me, holding Emma's little coat in her hands. She had gone to grab Emma's things earlier and had followed behind me afterward. Oh, this is, I had just started introducing her. Emma twisted around in my arms, spotted Anna, and immediately stretched both hands toward her. Mommy. That word, clear, loud, at a 200-person company celebration. Its impact was basically equivalent to a fire alarm. Everyone fell silent. Anna froze mid-motion, still holding the coat. My mind went completely blank. 3 meters away, Willow tilted her champagne glass slightly, spilling a little wine over the rim. Susan's pearl necklace suddenly looked 1 size tighter around her neck. At the very back of the crowd, David raised his can of cola and silently gave me a thumbs up. Anna pressed her lips together. Emma, she said, her voice trembling slightly. She's never called me that before. She really hasn't. My ears were burning. Emma, meanwhile, couldn't care less about any of this. She struggled toward Anna, repeating non-stop. Mommy hug. Mommy hug. Anna's fingers tightened around the little coat in her hands. Then she stepped forward and took Emma from me. Emma immediately curled up against her chest, satisfied and finally quiet. All 200 people at the event watched this scene unfold, while an indescribably strange atmosphere spread through the air. Ahem. I cleared my throat and turned to the business partner. This is Dr. Anna, my neighbor, and someone very important to Emma. I glanced at Anna. She was looking at me too. Something shimmered in her eyes. I said, someone very important to Emma. Anna's eyelashes trembled slightly. Willow turned around and walked toward the venue exit. Her back remained perfectly straight. Her steps were fast. The sound of her high heels striking the floor was drowned out by the music, but I still heard it. Chapter 13. 3 days after the celebration, David stormed into my office first thing in the morning, tablet in hand. Sam made his move. Who? Willow's dad, Sam Liu, chairman of Whale Realty. I set down my coffee. David placed the tablet in front of me. On the screen was an email from one of our biggest clients, a major commercial retail chain. The message was brief. Due to strategic restructuring, they had decided to suspend their system partnership with Luminex Tech and switch to another service provider. David said, that so-called strategic restructuring just happens to be restructuring straight into an IT company owned by the Liu family. He swiped to the next page. I checked. Whale Realty has cross-shareholdings with this commercial group. Sam personally made the call. I leaned back in my chair. There's more. David continued scrolling. Morningstar Capital is making moves too. They were originally planning to sign onto our Series B follow-up investment, but they pulled out today. He read the reason aloud. Due to changing market conditions, further evaluation is required. Then he added, one of Morningstar's partners was Sam's classmate. I know. The office went quiet for a few seconds. David stared at me. That's your reaction? I picked up my coffee and took a sip. How much revenue does that commercial group contract account for? 12%. If we lose it, will we die? No, but it'll hurt like hell. And Morningstar pulling out? Big impact. It affects the valuation, doesn't affect survival. We've got enough cash on hand to last 2 years. I nodded. Then there's no rush. You're seriously reacting like this? David slammed the tablet onto the desk angrily. The Liu family is screwing you over. I know. And you're not gonna hit back. I thought about it for a moment. Emma's getting vaccinated today. 3 o'clock this afternoon. I need to take 2 hours off. David stared at me, mouth opening and closing repeatedly. You, I said, handle the commercial group issue for me. Don't try to beg them to stay. And don't target them either. After they switch systems, they'll realize within 3 months that the new one sucks. They'll come back on their own. How do you know that? Because I personally wrote the underlying architecture for their business logic. No matter who takes over, they'll need at least half a year to fully adapt it. 3 months is enough time for regret to kick in. David's expression shifted from anger into something more complicated. Aren't you mad? I smiled. What's the point of being mad? Waste of time. I stood up and grabbed my coat. Emma's vaccination appointment needs to be booked in advance. I'm leaving. David followed behind me, his voice muffled. What do you need me to do? Just keep operations running normally. Oh, right. I turned back to look at him. You still have all those screenshots saved, right? 3 years worth of inventory. I nodded. Keep saving them. Might be useful someday. Not for starting a fight, for protecting ourselves. David nodded once. Chapter 14. That afternoon, community hospital. Anna was on duty today. She had booked Emma's vaccination appointment herself. I held Emma in the waiting area, completely unaware of the tragedy about to happen. She happily gnawed on a teething biscuit. Emma, she looked up. When you get your shot later, be brave. Okay. She grinned at me, the moment the needle went in. Emma's expression shifted from smiling to stunned, then her mouth opened wide. Wah. The crying was absolutely earth-shattering. Anna moved quickly, pressing a cotton ball against the injection spot while coaxing her gently. There. Emma's the bravest girl. It's over already. Just one little poke. I held Emma's tiny hand. She grabbed my finger back with shocking strength. The shot was done. Emma lay against my shoulder, sobbing in hiccuping breaths, her little hand clutching tightly at my collar. Anna handed over a sticker. For you, a little dinosaur sticker. Only for brave babies. Still sniffling. Emma accepted the sticker, stared at it for 2 seconds, then slapped it right onto my forehead. I was speechless. Anna tried hard not to laugh. What are you laughing at? I said. A dinosaur on my forehead looks very handsome. She nodded seriously. Extremely handsome. We walked out of the examination room. In the hallway, I noticed Anna rubbing her fingers. What happened to your hand? It's nothing, she said. A kid kicked me this morning while I was drawing blood. My hand hit the corner of the counter. I glanced at her hand. There was a small purple bruise on the side of her index finger. Did you get it treated? It's minor. I'm fine. I held Emma with one arm while using the other hand to pull Anna's hand over for a closer look. Her fingers were cold. Her nails were trimmed very short. Occupational habit. When I pressed lightly against the bruised area, her fingers twitched. Does it hurt? A little. I released her hand. Come over for dinner tonight. I'll make pork ribs. The corner of her lips curved upward slightly. Okay. From my shoulder, Emma suddenly announced. Mommy eat. Anna and I both went silent at the same time. Emma seemed extremely satisfied with the effect she caused and shouted again. Mommy eat din din. The tips of Anna's ears turned red. I stared straight ahead at the end of the hallway, my throat suddenly feeling dry. Emma, MHM. Who taught you that word? Emma gave me her signature smile. 4 tiny baby teeth, 2 dimples, innocent and smug at the exact same time. This kid was absolutely doing it on purpose. Chapter 15. Saturday afternoon. I took Emma to the park beside our neighborhood. The weather was nice. Sunlight filtered through the plain tree leaves, scattering patches of shadow across the ground. Emma wore a floral romper and a little sun hat, sitting in her stroller while gnawing on a banana. Anna walked beside the stroller. This was not a date. This was child walking duty. Those two things were fundamentally different, probably. I pushed the stroller while Anna occasionally crouched down to wipe Emma's mouth. Anna said. Her vocabulary's grown quite a bit lately. I pressed a hand against my forehead helplessly. What vocabulary? No, don't want. Big monster. And recently she learned another one, not allowed. Basically all rejection-related words. That means she's developing self-awareness, Anna said. That's a good thing. Good for her. A nightmare for me. Anna laughed softly. And also, I paused. About her calling you that, you don't need to mind it. Kids can't really tell the difference. Anna didn't say anything. We walked a few more steps. Then she said, I don't mind. Her voice was very soft. My footsteps faltered for half a beat. What I mean is, she paused, her tone returning to normal a little. Emma's a smart child. She calls me that because she thinks I'm someone she can trust. That makes me happy. Then she asked, what about you? What about me? Do you think I'm someone you can trust? The wind blew through. The plane tree leaves rustled overhead. Emma yawned inside the stroller and tossed her banana peel out dramatically. I bent down, picked up the peel, and threw it into the nearby trash can. Yes. One word. Anna said nothing else after that, but while we walked, she moved a little closer to the stroller. And then, George. A voice called from behind us. I turned around. Willow stood on the park pathway. She was dressed casually today, jeans and a white t-shirt, her hair tied into a ponytail. A cup of coffee hung from her hand. Her gaze swept over me, then Anna, then Emma in the stroller. Out for a walk? She asked, walking the kid. She walked over and crouched down in front of the stroller. Emma stared at her, her expression turning cautious for a split second. Then she called out, Auntie. The corner of Willow's mouth twitched, but this time, she smiled. Hello, little one. She pulled a lollipop from her pocket and handed it to Emma. Emma looked at the candy, then looked at me. I nodded. Only then did she accept it, proudly declaring, Tank oo. You're welcome. Willow stood back up, glanced at Anna, then at me. Can I talk to you alone for a minute? Anna immediately took hold of the stroller. I'll take Emma to see the ducks. Emma cheered instantly. Duckies. The stroller rolled away. Only Willow and I remained in the park. She didn't sit on the bench. She simply stood on the pathway with a row of plane trees behind her. I know about what my dad did, she said. I stayed silent, making clients cancel contracts, making investors pull out. Her voice remained steady, but the grip on her coffee cup was so tight the paper wall dented inward. I fought with him over it. Even my mom couldn't stop him. I shook my head. You don't need to apologize for them. I'm not here to apologize. She looked directly at me. I'm here to tell you I stopped it. What do you mean? My dad had a second round planned. He wanted people to investigate your company's tax records. She paused. I made him stop. I raised an eyebrow. Your company doesn't have tax problems. I know that. You and David run things properly. A bitter curve appeared at the corner of her lips. But once people start investigating, even if nothing's wrong, the process alone could drag on for months. It would mess up your fundraising schedule next year. So you stopped him. She nodded. Yeah. Then she said quietly, I told my dad that if he touched you again, I wouldn't go back to the Liu family anymore. Chapter 16. The wind blew again. A few loose strands of her ponytail were swept free. I did one more thing too. She pulled out her phone, opened an email, and handed it to me. The sender was Willow Liu. The recipient was the CEO of the commercial group that had cancelled our contract. The general meaning of the email was, as the daughter of Sam Liu, regarding your company's recent termination of cooperation with Luminex Tech, if this decision was made under pressure from my family, I sincerely apologize. Luminex Tech is an independently operated company and has no financial relationship with the Liu family. I am willing, in my personal capacity, to bear all legal and commercial responsibility arising from this matter. I finished reading it, then looked up at her. You actually sent this email? I did. This morning. Does your dad know? Not yet. She smiled a little, though the corners of her eyes were faintly red. When he finds out, he'll probably get angry all over again. What are you going to do then? I have my own firm in London. I make my own money. She put her phone away. George, I don't need you to feel sorry for me. I'm just doing what I should have done. I looked at her, the woman from 3 years ago, the one who had looked back at me once at the airport security checkpoint before turning away. I suddenly understood something about the look in her eyes back then. It wasn't indifference. It was lack of courage. Thank you, I said. Don't mention it. She took a sip of coffee and asked, that Dr. Anna, what about her? She's good. I didn't respond. I mean it. Willow turned to look into the distance. Anna was crouched beside the pond, watching ducks together with Emma. Emma was slapping the stroller handle excitedly while shouting, duckies, duckies. Willow said quietly. When Emma's with her, she's really relaxed. I followed her gaze. And you are too. What? When you're with her, your shoulders are relaxed. She paused. When you were with me, your shoulders were always tense. After saying that, she tossed the coffee cup into a trash can. I'm leaving. Go spend time with them. Willow. She stopped walking. You'll meet the right person too. With her back facing me, she stayed silent for 2 seconds. Yeah, I know. Then she walked away. Her steps were much lighter than the sound of those high heels from before. From far away, Emma spotted me walking back and immediately held up a fallen leaf she had picked up. Daddy, leafy. 5th word unlocked. Pretty, I said as I reached the stroller. Anna looked up at me. Done talking? Everything okay? Everything's fine. Emma handed the leaf to Anna proudly. Mommy, leafy. Anna accepted it. Her eyes were slightly red, but she was smiling, and she looked beautiful when she smiled. I pushed the stroller forward. 3 people, or rather, 2 adults and 1 tiny troublemaker, walking back along the pathway together. Chapter 17. The impact of Willow's email was even stronger than expected. The CEO of the commercial group personally called me. President Wang, we sincerely apologize. The previous termination of cooperation was entirely a misunderstanding. Our internal team has reevaluated everything, and your system truly is the most suitable solution for us. Misunderstanding. That word almost made me choke. I said, no rush. Finish your internal procedures first, then contact me again. I hung up. David poked his head in from the office next door. They came back. They called on their own. David laughed. That's 2.5 months faster than your 3-month prediction. He waved his phone. There's more. Morningstar Capital came back too. One of their partners scheduled a meeting for next week today. What about Sam? That email from Willow Liu spread across the industry. Someone screenshot it and posted it online with the title, Liu family heiress publicly roasts her own father to protect her ex-boyfriend. I asked, who came up with that title? Internet users. You know how people online are. The clickbait gets crazier every day. How did Sam react? Apparently he got so angry he smashed a teacup. And then his wife, your former almost mother-in-law, Mrs. Susan, had a major disaster happen today at one of her rich lady social gatherings. David handed me his phone. On the screen was a screenshot from a wealthy wives group chat, obviously leaked by some drama-loving bystander. Susan had posted a message in the group. Recently I've been busy helping Willow settle back in after returning home. By the way, Willow is very close with a young entrepreneur, President Wang from Luminex Tech. You may have heard of him. Underneath it was a reply from someone called Mrs. Wu. Susan, didn't you say 3 years ago in this very group that George was a broke loser who wasn't worthy of even your daughter's little finger? I remember it very clearly. I even saved screenshots. Immediately afterward came the screenshot. Susan's original message from 3 years ago read, that poor loser is just some code monkey. What can his monthly salary even do? If my daughter marries him, she might as well marry a plumber. Willow breaking up with him was the proudest decision of my life. The group chat exploded beneath the screenshot. Ha 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 ha, wow, that comparison is vicious. Susan, you really act one way in public and another in private. So now that his company's worth hundreds of millions, suddenly he's worthy again. 3 years ago you dumped him for being poor. 3 years later he gets rich and suddenly you're sticking yourself back onto him. Susan sent a giant paragraph trying to explain herself. The more she explained, the messier it got. In the end, she sent one last line. You people don't understand the full situation. Then she left the group chat. I handed the phone back to David. All these screenshots, you leaked them. Wrongfully accused. David immediately raised both hands. I only ever showed them to you. But Mrs. Wu was Susan's own friend. She saved the screenshots herself 3 years ago. Think about it, when Susan was trashing you in that group chat back then, there was more than one audience member. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. David asked, "How do you feel?" How did I feel? The broke loser who got stepped on 3 years ago was now watching the people who mocked him trip and fall flat on their faces. I should have been happy, but I wasn't. It just felt pointless. What time does Emma get out of school? She's 1.5 years old. She doesn't go to school. She's next door at Anna's place. Oh, right. I stood up. I'm going to pick her up. On my way downstairs, I ran into one of the company interns. A recent graduate carrying a huge stack of documents stopped when she saw me. "President Wang, did you see that thing online? About the Liu family heiress publicly roasting her own dad?" "I saw it. She's so badass. Does she like you?" I asked. "Did you finish delivering those documents yet?" "Oh, right, delivering documents." She hurried off at once. I rubbed my temples. Back at the apartment complex, Anna's door was open. I knocked twice at the entrance. "Come in." Anna's voice called from inside. Chapter 18. I pushed the door open and walked in. Anna's living room was 10 times tidier than mine. Emma sat on the play mat with a neat row of building blocks lined up in front of her, fully focused on knocking them down one by one. "Daddy." Emma raised a block the moment she saw me. "Daddy, look." Fall. Then she shoved over the last block. Clatter. And immediately started clapping for herself. So impressive. Anna walked out of the kitchen carrying a glass of water and handed it to me. I took it and drank a sip. She glanced at me. "What's wrong? You don't look too good." "Nothing. Company stuff. The Liu family thing." I looked at her. "You know too?" She nodded. "Luna from your company's front desk is my high school classmate. She posted about it on social media." I was speechless. Anna sat down beside me, leaving exactly 1 Emma width of distance between us. "Is it serious?" she asked. "Not anymore." Willow stepped in and stopped some of it. "The client came back too. Then why do you still look unhappy?" I lowered my head and looked at Emma. She had lined the blocks up all over again and was now staring at me expectantly, waiting for me to watch her dramatic destruction performance. I was thinking about something. What? When Emma grows up, if someone treats her badly someday, what should I teach her to do? Anna stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then she asked, "Are you overthinking things today?" "Probably," she said. "Right now Emma's biggest concern is whether carrot puree tastes good or not." Anna reached over to straighten one of the crooked blocks for Emma. "By the time she grows up, you'll know what to teach her." She paused. "You'll be a good father." "How do you know?" "Because you already are." Emma knocked the blocks down again. Crash. "Fall down," she shouted while clapping and giggling wildly. I laughed too. Anna watched me laugh, and the corners of her lips lifted along with mine. Then Emma stood up, wobbling forward 2 unstable steps before plopping herself onto my lap, then immediately plopping herself onto Anna's lap too. More accurately, she positioned herself sideways between both of us. Her left leg rested on my lap, her right leg rested on Anna's. One tiny hand grabbed one of my fingers, the other grabbed Anna's. Then she closed her eyes and yawned. I asked, "What exactly is she doing?" "She's building a bridge." Anna's voice sounded slightly muffled. "What kind of bridge?" "A people bridge." Emma held onto both our hands tightly. Anna's fingertips brushed against the back of my hand. Neither of us moved. Emma's breathing gradually became steady and even. Outside the window, the afternoon sunlight slanted inward, falling softly across Emma's face. I slowly turned my hand over. My fingertips touched Anna's fingertips. She didn't pull away. Chapter 19. Things settled down faster than expected. The commercial group renewed the contract. The terms were even better than before. At the signing dinner, the CEO personally toasted me 3 times and said, "If anything comes up in the future, contact me directly." That Liu guy doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. Morningstar Capital also came back. Their Series B follow-up investment increased by 20% compared to the original amount. One of the partners privately told David. George got targeted from every direction and didn't make a sound the entire time. Didn't even post some passive-aggressive rant online. A person like that is either an idiot, or someone with real composure. I'm betting on the second one. Things quieted down on the Liu family side too, after Willow confronted her father. Sam stayed silent for several days. In the end, Susan was the first to surrender. Not to me, to her rich lady social circle. After those screenshots spread around online, Susan's social life basically went into indefinite suspension. She deleted all her posts, even changed her profile picture to a lotus flower. Willow sent me a message on WeChat. Just one sentence. "Tell Emma that the toy train Auntie gave her was custom handmade in France. Even if she still likes cardboard boxes more." I replied with a simple, "Okay." Then Emma snatched my phone away and somehow sent a string of complete keyboard gibberish. Willow replied with a smiling emoji described in text. Life returned to normal, or rather, slightly better than before. And that, slightly better, was Anna. She didn't change. She still came over after work every day to help take care of Emma. Still made pumpkin puree, steamed egg custard, millet porridge. Still crouched on the floor playing stacking blocks with Emma, stacking and knocking them down in an endless cycle. But some things were different. For example, after dinner, she no longer hurried home immediately. For example, while I washed dishes, she would wipe the table beside me, our hands occasionally brushing against each other. For example, after Emma fell asleep, we would sit together on the couch looking at our phones, each minding our own business, but our shoulders touching. Neither of us said anything out loud. David, meanwhile, was losing his mind over it. What exactly is going on between you two? He demanded dramatically. Are you together? Not together? Flirting stage? Trial period? Or did you two skip straight past dating into old married couple mode? Why do you care? Because I'm your daughter's godfather. Who appointed you? I appointed myself. From nearby, Emma delivered the finishing blow. Unky. Hear that? Emma agrees with me too. I ignored him. Until that night, Emma developed a fever. Not the mild kind babies get from rashes. She hit 39.8 degrees Celsius. I woke up in the middle of the night to her crying. The moment I touched her forehead, the heat terrified me. I picked her up and rushed toward the door. I didn't even put on slippers. The hallway lights were motion activated. I stomped once. The lights flicked on. The door next door opened. Anna stood there in pajamas, her hair loose, eyes already open. Clearly, she hadn't gone to sleep yet. What happened to Emma? One look at my face and she knew something was wrong. She has a fever, I said. Almost 40 degrees. Anna immediately reached over and touched Emma's forehead and neck. Don't panic. Come inside first. She pulled me into her apartment. Emma cried so hard in my arms she could barely breathe. Anna turned on the lights and pulled out the medicine kit. Ibuprofen. Let me take her temperature first. She tucked the thermometer under Emma's arm. Emma fought back and squirmed while I held her still. 39.6. Anna measured the medication dosage, filled a syringe, and carefully fed it into Emma's mouth. Emma's face scrunched up bitterly, but she swallowed it. Physical cooling next. Anna wrung out a warm towel. You hold her. I'll wipe her down. She gently wiped Emma's forehead, neck, and palms. Her movements were light, steady. I held Emma against me and could feel her tiny body trembling. What if it's not? Anna glanced at me. Just a normal infection-related fever. She's teething lately, so her immune system's weaker. This is normal. But 39.6. I'm here. Those 3 words. My fingers loosened slightly. Chapter 20. Emma's crying gradually weakened. The medicine was taking effect. Her face was no longer as red as before. Anna checked her temperature again. 39.1. It's going down. She placed the towel back onto Emma's forehead and sat beside me. 3 in the morning. The lights in her living room were warm white, softer than the lighting in my apartment. Several parenting books were piled on the couch. A cup of flower tea had gone cold on the coffee table. She read parenting books every night. I lowered my head and looked at Emma. Her breathing had steadied a little. Her tiny hand still clutched my finger, eyes half open and half closed. George, your hands are shaking. I glanced down at my hands. They really were trembling. I'm scared. The words came out squeezed painfully from my throat. Emma's still so little. I swallowed hard. Every time she gets sick, I think about my cousin. My cousin died, and on the same day, Emma came down with a fever. It was my first time being a father. I didn't know anything. I held her in the emergency room hallway the entire night. Every time she cried, I started shaking too. Anna said nothing. Then you moved in next door. I took a breath. That night Emma had a fever. I ran into you in the elevator. You took her from me and said, "Don't panic." You know what those words meant to me. My throat tightened. Emma shifted in my arms and mumbled in her sleep. Ever since then, I've felt like, as long as you're next door, I'm not as afraid anymore. Anna's hands rested on her knees. Her knuckles turned pale for a second. It's not just because you're a doctor, I said quietly. It's because you're you. The living room fell silent. Only Emma's soft breathing could be heard. Anna turned to look at me. Her eyes looked bright beneath the warm white light. Do you know why I come to your place every day? Her voice was very soft. Because of Emma? I asked. She nodded. At first, yes, and later. Later too. She paused before continuing. Plus you. My heart slammed hard against my ribs. I wanted to say something. My mouth opened slightly, but Emma suddenly stirred in my arms, blinking drowsily awake. She looked at me, then turned her head to look at Anna. Then she stretched out both little hands. One landed around my neck, the other rested on Anna's shoulder. Mommy, she murmured. Then, Daddy, and after that, She buried her face against us and went right back to sleep. Anna's nose turned red. I slowly reached out one hand. She placed hers into it. Our fingers intertwined. Emma's temperature slowly kept dropping. Outside the window, the sky shifted from black to dark blue, then from dark blue to pale gray. I leaned back against the couch, Emma asleep in my arms, my hand holding Anna's. The three of us curled together on that small sofa. No one moved. The next morning, 9 o'clock, I woke up on Anna's couch. My neck hurt so badly it felt broken. Emma's temperature had returned to normal, 36.5. She was full of energy again and currently gnawing on Anna's slipper on the floor. Emma, don't eat that. Anna walked out of the kitchen carrying a bowl of plain rice porridge and a small plate of pickled vegetables. Breakfast time. I sat at the table, rubbing my neck. Your neck was twisted at an angle the entire night, Anna said while handing me chopsticks. It's going to hurt today. It already does. I'll massage it for you tonight. She said it naturally, like we had already been living this way for a very long time. I lowered my head and drank some porridge. It was light and mild. The pickled vegetables were cut into tiny pieces. Emma crawled over, pulled herself up using my pant leg, and stared into my bowl. Want? It's just plain porridge. She can have a little. I cooled off a spoonful and fed it to her. To my surprise, she actually ate it. No spitting, no dramatic rejection. I sighed emotionally. She's really well behaved today. That's how kids are after a fever. Quiet for 2 days. Anna sat down beside me. Enjoy it while it lasts. In another couple days she'll go right back to normal. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Chapter 21. You still alive? There's a meeting at the company today. I replied. Alive. Emma had a fever last night. Stayed over at Anna's place. David instantly replied with a wall of exclamation marks. Then 10 consecutive messages came flying in. You stayed overnight at her place. What happened? Did you two finally? Answer me. If you're together, reply with 1. If you're not together, reply with 2. If you don't reply, I'm assuming it's 1. I hereby announce. My godfather status has become even more secure. You repaying for the next dinner gathering. I replied with a 2, then locked the screen. Anna leaned over and glanced at it. You replied with 2. You're lying. I looked at her. She said. It obviously should have been 1. Then she lowered her head to drink her porridge. The tips of her ears had turned completely red. Under the table, Emma shouted, Mommy, Daddy, Din Din. I unlocked my phone again, deleted the 2, typed a 1, sent. David's response came immediately. A voice message. Full 60 seconds. The content consisted entirely of uninterrupted screaming for 1 full minute. I muted my phone. From beneath the table, Emma shouted again, Duckies. There are no ducks at home, I said. I can go buy some at noon. Anna replied. I froze for a second. Buy ducks. Roast duck. That works too. Sunlight streamed through the window. It shone across the bowl of plain porridge on the table, the small plate of pickled vegetables, and the half-chewed teething biscuit Emma had abandoned. It shone across Anna's face, across Emma's tiny head. I sat at a dining table that didn't belong to me, eating a breakfast I didn't make myself, listening to my daughter call someone by a title I never taught her, and honestly, it felt pretty good. Far better than the version of me 3 years ago, standing beneath the ginkgo trees saying, I'll wait for you. Back then, I had nothing. Now I have a daughter who knocks over building blocks, a neighbor who wipes soy sauce off for me, a bad friend who's been keeping screenshots for 3 years, and a bowl of plain porridge at just the right temperature. The phone wasn't ringing. Nobody was standing in the rain waiting for me anymore, but someone was sitting beside me, carefully blowing on my daughter's porridge so it wouldn't be too hot, and that was enough.